Nami just textured an MP40, well, the MP40, and asked me how to import textures into the SDK. And I thought I'd just make a quick video on it, and so everyone can fall back onto this in case it's needed. This is specific to Rising Storm 2 weapons in the Rising Storm 2 SDK. The texture setups, I'm going to show you how to use the gloss map and how to convert that into an RGB map, and in case you haven't done that already. And as a reference, we're just going to use the PPSH that is made and is in Rising Storm 2, sort of as a reference point for how to import stuff in case anyone needs to double check their work. So first off, I'm going to just open Photoshop here. You can use GIMP if you don't have Photoshop. And we're going to combine the AO map and the gloss map. So he's just exported those out of Substance Painter, and they're both just grayscale, or just one color channel, which is, well, not color, but gray. So the first thing we'll have to do is change the gloss map into an RGB, which is that adds 2 extra channels, red, green, blue, 3 overall. And then now we got 3 channels. They all look the same. They're all gray. We're going to take the AO map, open that in a new file, and just copy the entire thing. You just use shortcuts there. Control C to copy. And then we're going to go back to the gloss map, go back to the blue channel, click Control V, and just copy it in. And there you go. You got your RGB map there. And you save that. It just saves over the gloss map. And now we got a gloss map in the blue. The blue channel is now the AO, and the rest is the gloss map. We can get into importing those into Engine. I'm just going to select them here. Not the AO, but the specular, the diffuse, the gloss, and the normal map. And we're just going to make our own pig, which is the Unreal package. We're going to choose the texture groups. In this case, that's the diffuse, so it's just the weapon. And it's going to take a second to compress, and there it is. Next one is a RGB, so we're just going to do the same settings again. And now the important one, which is the normal map. It'll need to be set to uncompressed, otherwise it won't work. Do this when importing, not after. Set it to normal map, and it doesn't take any seconds because it doesn't compress, obviously. Back to the specular, and sometimes the SDK is weird. Back to the specular, don't forget to set it back to default. Click OK. It should take a second, and now we can just look for our package, whatever we called it. In this case, quite simple name, and those there are. The gloss map, set it to not sRGB, which is set it to linear, right? Because we've got 3 different channels. We don't want to have them as sRGB. We want them as linear channels. Create a material instance here. Just call it something. I've just called it the MP for machine pistole, and we'll need to set a parent because it's a constant. It's not an actual material. Let's go back to the PPSH and just check what they're using. They're using the standard first person, and we'll just copy that over. Copy the same settings as well. So we're just going to hit Control C again to copy. Go back to our package and open that material back up and just paste it in there. It should take a second to compile some stuff. So check the scalar, yes, they're fine. And then there, we just do the same settings as the PPSH. I'm not a tech artist, so I couldn't really tell you in detail what exactly that does, but it's the settings that I used, and it does look better. The important thing now, you can see there the M14. We'll have to add our maps to it, so click on those check marks to activate them as changing parameters, and then we go and just put them in there, which select them in the content browser, and click on the green arrow, and then just put them in wherever they belong. Just pretty obvious. And there you have it. That's a finished material. Nemi also given me the MP40 as an FBX to import. Obviously, it isn't in Rising Storm 2. So we'll just quickly go back there and grab that, import that. Just regular settings. Skeletal mesh is pretty easy to import. And there it is. It's untextured. It's default textures on there. Just quickly going to turn off the grid here. Right. Those you can see down there. There's two material IDs on that gun. What you'll have to do is just take your material constant you just made, go back to that view, that window, and just click on the arrow again, and there it is. There's your finished gun, and we can see it looks a bit weird, and in this case it is the normal map that's wrong, because Nemi has given me a normal map that isn't for DirectX, but in case it's flipped in the green channel, which is an OpenGL one. So we'll just have to go back there and open that in Photoshop. Go back into Photoshop, open it there, and you can see looks a bit wrong. The easiest way to spotting that is stuff like prints, like this is imprinted into the gun. It sticks out. We want it to stick out. We just invert the green channel there. I just clicked on the green channel and hit Control I to invert, and now it comes out at us, and basically it looks wrong, but that is the way DirectX does it. In case you've ever heard of it, it's called the Y- indirection, and now we just click and right-click, re-import the texture. It flips it, and there you go. It looks correct. That's something to be aware of. Really, there's only three things. Import your normal map as uncompressed, check that it is the correct normal map orientation, and on the gloss map, just hit sRGB, just untick that box. And there you have it. The specular should just be there, just regular, same for the diffuse, well, albedo, and those are your maps, and that is pretty much what you import. We just look at it again. Substance Painter doesn't really allow you to see what the result is going to be like in Rising Storm 2, because the material in Rising Storm 2 is a entirely custom one, and it really doesn't behave the same way, and you'll find this the same in Marmoset or in UE4. Materials will look different, and so I'd recommend putting it into Engine and then tweaking the values, saying, okay, maybe this is a bit, it's breaking out a bit, maybe it's a bit too shiny. What I found is that Rising Storm 2 is a bit unforgiving, so in the modern engines, you can sort of have leeway before it breaks out. And in this case, it just immediately starts glaring and everything. So really get those numbers correct. Just hone in on a good result. I mean, this is a pretty good base, really good start. And yeah, that's pretty much it. How you import textures. It's pretty straightforward, easy, to be honest. In case you got any questions, just hit me up on Discord, and happy texturing.